What is up, middle school students? My name is Caleb. You can call me Corbin. And if you're like me, connecting with God sometimes feels complicated. And it can be confusing or even frustrating at times. That's why in this series called Beginner's Guide to Connecting with God, we're gonna break down some of the really simple ways we can connect with God in our daily lives. Before I tell you what we're gonna talk about today, let me start by asking you a simple question. Are you tired? I mean, honestly, how many of you are just exhausted? You're already asleep. I see you. How many of you out there could feel like you just need a little more beauty rest? You know, I use a little more shoulder that's more like it. How many of you just want a little more time to rest? I totally get it. When I was in middle school, I was exhausted all the time too. Let me tell you about it. So I'm in middle school and it's the weekend, right? Great time to rest. Sunday comes around. Go to church and I miss my nap. So that already, we are at a horrible start to the Sunday. I miss my nap. Later that night, I have a birthday party at a friend's house. Not bad, right? So I go to the friend's house, we're celebrating, we're having a great time. We're just about to open presents and it dawns on me, I have 3 tests tomorrow that I have not studied for at all. So I can't leave the party to study, right? I've got to stay and celebrate. So I get home at 10-ish. It's way past my bedtime because again, I'm in middle school. And I stay up late all night, and by all night I mean 30 minutes, studying for the 3 tests that I have tomorrow. Wake up, crack of dawn, get to school, and I don't even remember how I did on these tests. I don't want to remember how I did on these tests. But let's just say it was a long Monday. Mondays are always long. So it's a long Monday. I get to the end of the school day and then I have basketball practice. Well, I was up late, not studying, worrying about these tests. So I'm exhausted. These tests took it out of me. I get to basketball practice and I'm just done, right? I'm like, coach, let's shoot some free throws. Let's get out of here. No. Coach decides it would be wonderful if we ran sprints. So we're doing sprints and coach just keeps pounding it and pounding it. And I get to half court in one of my sprints and I just start to feel a little tingly, And the next thing I know, I wake up 30 minutes later, my coach is throwing water onto my face because that's the best way to wake somebody up. And he's like, dude, go home. It's fine, you've had a long day. Mondays. But I bet a lot of you can relate to that feeling, right? That pressure, that exhaustion, that just busy schedule. And the truth is, as middle schoolers, you all have a lot on your plates right now. You've got school and homework and tryouts and practices and clubs, and that's only at school. At home, you've got to balance chores and spending time with your parents and watching out for your younger siblings and making sure you follow the rules. And on top of all that, you've still got to find time for your friends or maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend or your small group. And the list goes on and on and on. And when you look at it that way, it's no wonder that you're worn out. Your schedules, they aren't just packed, they're overflowing. And the truth is, all of that leaves you feeling a lot more than just physically tired or exhausted. It probably leaves you feeling emotionally worn down too. In other words, it leaves you feeling stressed. And nobody wants to feel stressed, right? Duh. So if we all know this busyness is causing us unwanted stress, why do we keep on living that way? Why do we keep packing our schedules full? Why do we keep giving in to all the pressure? Well, I think for a lot of us, it's because we have a goal in mind. Maybe you're trying to achieve a good grade or a better spot on the team. Or maybe you're trying to be just a better friend or get along with your parents or strengthen your faith. You keep going and going and going to reach that goal, even when it wears you down completely. Or maybe for some of us, it's because of other people's expectations. Whether it's your parents, your teachers, your coaches, your friends, or even right here at church, maybe expectations you put on yourself. You feel pressured to keep going and keep up because of someone else. With all that on your plate, it makes total sense that you feel exhausted. It's understandable why even showing up here at church feels like work sometimes. If you're honest, maybe you'd even say that faith feels like one more thing to do on a long line to-do list. And while everyone here at church talks about God like he's supposed to bring you more peace, the reality is that actually trying to connect with him just feels like more work. If you feel any of those things, stressed out or tired or overwhelmed or just exhausted or under pressure, then I've got good news for you. That's not the way it's supposed to be. In fact, it's not the way it has to be. Because believe it or not, God actually created you to rest. Don't believe me? Well, I promise you it's true. We see it in the very way God created the world. In the book of Genesis, the very first book in the entire Bible, we get a glimpse at the way God created everything in the universe. He spent 6 days creating the stars, the sun, the ocean, the plants, the animals, and even breathing life into people. And then what did he do? God rested. Check this out. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. God worked really hard leading up to that 7th day. He put himself into creating everything. And when it was all said and done, he rested. You see, there's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing wrong with doing your best, but there's also nothing wrong with rest. That's what God modeled for us in creation. And in fact, rest is so important to God that eventually he made it a priority for all of his people. Thousands of years ago, there's a group of people who were considered to be God's chosen people, and they were called the Israelites. Now, the Israelites went through a lot back in the day. You see, they were enslaved by Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, until God called a guy named Moses to free them. And while Moses and the Israelites had to go through a lot of things to be free, they eventually made it out of captivity and started a journey to the land God promised them. On this journey, Moses and the Israelites spent some time at a place called Mount Sinai. While camping there, God came down and met with Moses. No, I don't think you heard me. God came down and met with Moses. Can you even imagine that? The Bible says that when God showed up at Mount Sinai, there was thunder and there was lightning and there were clouds and there was blasts like a trumpet. So basically, God made the biggest entrance ever. And when he did, God told Moses a set of laws that he wanted the Israelites to live by. These were rules and principles that would show the Israelites the best way to live. They were so important to God that he came down to tell Moses himself. Those things God said, well, we know them now as the 10 Commandments. Maybe you've heard of a few of them. Things like don't kill, don't steal, respect your parents. That one's the easiest one. But you know what else God included in that list? Rest. Take a look at this. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days, the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the 7th day, he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. God basically commanded the Israelites to include rest as a part of their faith and lives. He told them to follow the example he set for them when he created the world, to work hard when they needed to, but to also make sure to prioritize rest. And you know what? That same rule applies to you. You are not exempt from this. The rest that God was talking about probably isn't exactly what you might be thinking about. Just full out sleeping until noon. Or if you're a great napper, sleeping for like 3 hours and then waking up and not even knowing where you are. Even though that's awesome, here's what God was talking about with rest. He wants us to experience shalom, which is a word that means complete and utter peace. It's resting physically, mentally and spiritually. It's wholeness. It's resting in Him. It's stopping and remembering that He is God and you are not. And you can rest because He has all things under control. God wants us to turn our hearts toward Him as we do our work. And in our rest, He wants us to do the same. God knows how important rest is for our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. And one of the ways to find rest, one of the ways to find shalom, is to connect with Him. Jesus even talked about the same thing when He was here on earth. Check this out. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." How comforting is it to know that Jesus sees the way we feel? He sees your stress. You who just aced that test, He knows that you're feeling great right now. You who came to church dressed all fly like that, I see you. God knows that you're feeling great, but also He sees the stress and He sees the striving and pressure we experience in life. And instead of asking us to keep going and doing more and more, He simply tells us to come to Him to connect with Him. Why? Because there we can find rest. Believe it or not, resting is a way to connect with God. When we pause the busyness and stress and pressure of our lives, we're allowing ourselves to actually connect with God. I mean, but let's be honest here. Don't we all want to experience a little more rest in our lives? I highly doubt any of you are sitting there thinking, that's okay. I'm good with all this stress. I just love stress, I love feeling under pressure. Under pressure. I don't need to feel peace at all. No. All of us know we need to find a way to incorporate rest into our lives. Because not only is it important for our physical and mental health, it's also part of learning to connect with God. Because resting is a way to connect with God. In order to really start making rest a part of the way we follow God, I think we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. Think about these, okay? First, what is keeping me from rest? What's in my life that's getting in the way of slowing down and just pressing pause? What's taking so much of my time and energy and attention that it's causing me stress? Maybe for you, it's school or your team, or that club you're in. Maybe it's a friendship you have or a goal that you just want to achieve. And while those things are not bad in themselves, they can very easily get in the way of our rest when we let them take over in our lives. And second, what does rest look like for me? What will help me disconnect from what's stressing me out? What will help me to connect to something that brings me peace? Maybe for you, that means taking a walk or drawing, or my favorite, taking a nap. Maybe it's giving yourself time to spend with your friends or setting limits on the things that get in the way of resting. Maybe it's praying or listening to music or reading the Bible. But whatever it is, find a way to build that rest into your week. Remember, resting is a way to connect with God. So this week, be sure to carve out some time to do just that, rest. As you leave, I want you to think about this question. What's one thing in my life that keeps me from resting? Nap time.